Double your production in 2023. Who in the world doesn't want to double their production? In fact, if you're watching this a year from now, my guess is that you're going to want to double your production for 2024 and 2025. So this is as evergreen as it comes. And I will tell you, the man himself, Patrick Keller out of Indianapolis, Indiana, is an expert in doubling production. In fact, I've watched this guy over the last couple of years completely change and revolutionize his business. He is oozing money. Oh man, you love it when I talk about that, PK. He is oozing money because he's making the right choices, the right strategic moves, and he's setting everything up for ultimate success. Robby and myself have the privilege of coaching PK and him being aligned in our network as our newest coach also. And we thought nobody would be better to talk about this idea of doubling your production in the next 12 months than PK. So Patrick, give us a rundown of who you are and about your business. Nice to have Robby join us right on time, 2 minutes late.
Welcome, Robby. Hey guys.
What do you guys expect? Anything else? Come on now. I'm always 1 minute late. That's me. So
fashionably late.
Yeah, look at that blueprint right there, by the way, over your left shoulder, PK.
Oh yeah, that's right. Exactly. Well placed. Hey guys, I'm Patrick Keller. I am based out of Indianapolis, like Erik had said. I have been an agent since 2015. I started in the big box brokerage models, tested a couple of those, and then started my own brokerage back in 2019. I had a team before then and took my team to my independent brokerage. Then I have grown very big in teams. I have shrunk very small in teams, and I have absolutely adopted Erik and Robby's showing partner, their blueprint model, and our team structure, and it has absolutely changed my life. I have achieved really great things in real estate. I've sold tons and tons of houses. I've also made a lot of failures that I like to teach on, and we are a team that, as of yesterday, we have put together about 163 contracts this year in 2022. And that's me, 2 showing partners, an ISA that just started this year, and a couple admin. So we're not a team of 35 people. We've had a really, really, really great year and just being intentional. And we're excited to share what we do so that you all can be successful.
What PK is talking about comes from this. You can see it over both my shoulders now, is the perfect real estate agent blueprint. Gang, if you're watching this, whether it's live or the recording, go to Instagram and find Real Erik Hatch. That's with a K, Real Erik Hatch, and give us your email address, and we will send you instructions on how to get a free copy of this book. That's Robby's gift and my gift to you. And PK, you said it has changed and revolutionized the way in which you run and function your business. You just mentioned that you have yourself, 2 agent partners, an inside sales agent, and then a couple of admin, and together you guys have sold 163 deals. Dude, that's an obscene amount of deals. Are you talking 70, 80, 90 hours a week to do that?
It used to be, but with their help, I'm working a more entrepreneurial style hours per week, which is about 45 or 50.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not like I'm sitting back and sitting on a beach and letting them do their things, but we're all helping each other. We're helping each other accomplish big things. And I've got 15 to 20 hours a week of my life back.
People always want to know the digits. Average sales price is what in your market?
About 300,000 for us.
Okay. And so 300,000 times 163 deals, you're at almost $50 million, right? In volume.
Our volume is around 35 or 40 million.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's your bad math, not my bad math, because my math holds strong. So 35 or 40 million, you're looking at how much GCI, and what's your percent on that you take home?
Yeah, so we eclipsed over $1 million in GCI this year. I think last time we looked a few weeks ago, we were at like 1.1 million in GCI.
Awesome.
And our profit margin this year was around 32%.
Yeah, so, but you're paying yourself a commission.
Correct.
You're paying yourself a salary.
That's
and
correct.
Then you're still left with 32% profit on that.
That's correct. Yeah, that profit margin is not including any commissions that we as partners or leaders are being paid. Okay. Also, it doesn't include salaries.
Yeah. So I will tell you this. Folks that are listening, these are not normal numbers. These are not normal realtor numbers. Robby, give some perspective on what a normal agent will do and why Patrick is so exceptional and why we wanted him teaching this today.
Yeah, I think first off, I'm really excited about doing this webinar and sharing Patrick's story because I think I would describe this as, PK, we kind of rescued you from a flawed business model. And I think that's what we're trying to do. Our mission here with this book and what we're talking about today is rescuing people who are using outdated models that are really light on profitability. And typically what we see in the real estate space, and I think we get the honor of coaching and training and being connected with a lot of the top real estate teams in the country. And based off of what Erik and I see, easily 50% of real estate teams don't actually make a true profit because everybody is paying themselves the wrong way. The biggest mistake that we see everybody make is they literally take their production, they pour it into their company kitty, don't take that money out, and they think they're profitable. And the reality is that you are subsidizing the profitability of your business. So I think that's flaw number one. Flaw number two is people go super, super wide. And PK, when we met, that was you, my friends, right? I remember looking at your depth chart, we walked through it, and I started coaching PK about building an ISA department. And then I was like, man, we got to talk about your model and what you're going through. And the normal, if you're a good producer in this game, meaning you're selling 30, 40, 50 homes, you're hammered, people hammer into your head, hire agents. And it's based off and predicated on the idea that you should go hire agents to take the buyer business off our plate because nobody likes to show homes. That's really why we're taking the buyer business off our plate, is so we can have our nights and weekends back. So that's what you do, is you go hire a plethora of agents. Eventually, one of those agents becomes your listing agent. That listing agent forces you to step out, or now allows you to step out of that business. Now you're leading the team, but you're still funneling all your business. So to answer your question, where are people usually at? They're usually working 70, 80 hours per week, Erik, and then their profitability is literally negative. It's not the PK story of I'm working less and making way more.
Well, here's the perfect example. There's a local agent that I've started to align with. We're talking to him about Real because he sees the opportunities with our brokerage. And he said, when I was a solo agent, I was selling 40 homes or so a year, and he made about $250,000 net. And I'm like, dude, that's awesome. It's like, yeah. So he's like, I've started a team now, and we'll sell about 100 homes. And I'm like, that's awesome. How much are you going to make this year? He's like, oh, about $250,000. And I go, okay. Whoa, buddy. Like that's the story of so many folks is they're building the wrong way. And so PK, I know you have some insight for us on how to build not only the right way, but also how to, because people want to double their production without foregoing profit. So frame for us the direction you want to go, and we are going to follow your lead here, pal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if anybody wants to have a more in-depth conversation with me about building out a micro team, they can go to my website at meetpk.co. They obviously should check out the Real Estate Blueprint too, because that book is the beginning of that book is my story for sure. And you guys should check out that book or reach out to me. But today, I'm really excited to just talk about how to double your production, whether that includes adding people to do it or not. And I think that 2023 is probably the year to do it. I think a lot of us have a lot of doom and gloom, and we're thinking that our market is going to be challenging. Interest rates are going to be challenging. Buyers are more reluctant. Sellers are reluctant. But here's the truth. And I just sat in our workout this morning. One of the team agents that's really involved.
When you say workout, what do you mean by that? I know what you mean by that, but I want to make sure everybody else understands.
I'm going to teach everybody about what their real estate workout should look like here very soon. A workout is a consistent thing that we do daily to make sure that we're taking action to bring business. Very involved in our board, and she's talking to folks all over Indianapolis that are agents that are dropping out of the business. Guys, if 30% of the business disappears, at least 30% of the agents will disappear. Yeah. And so 2023 is the year to double your production. And we should be looking at it as an opportunity instead of a headstrong wind. So today I really want us to get into that and talk about how to do it. And my warning is that if you don't want to do work, if you think that you can take a pill and you'll double your production, if you think that you can buy a particular lead source and not work, you're not going to double your production. So if you're wanting from me a magic button where you're going to double production, you're not going to get that here, and this webinar is not for you.
I'm going to watch the attendees to see how many drop off right now, because they recognize that there's not an easy fix to this.
Yeah, we have to work for this, but I will also go back to, I think it's a great opportunity for it.
Okay.
So what I've done today is I've broken it down and where you were in the last 12 months and what you need to do to double your production in the next 12 months.
Now, does this hold true for somebody who's leading a team that's doing 500 transactions? Can they get to 1,000? Or is this more for somebody who's the solo producer and they're doing 30 and they want to get to 60?
Today is going to be best for probably 3 people. 1, a solo producer. 2, a solo producer has a little bit of help, maybe like an admin or a transaction coordinator. Or 3, somebody who's adopted our model or something similar to it that has a showing partner or a buyer's agent. That's going to be the best for them. Okay. For somebody who does 500 deals a year, in my mind, I'm not there. I don't do $500 deals a year personally, right? But it's just going to be leverage and people. And I'm not going to have the solution.
And yeah, that's deep into the 6th through 10th tier here on this book. And we're really staying in the precipice of the core business and how people can get each individual. And by the way, if you want to figure out how do you get from 500 to 1,000 transactions, is you do the model. If you want to go big, you got to think small. And so everything PK is talking about here is going to identify specifically what an individual needs to do, and you just need more individuals to follow that model in order to double regardless.
Absolutely.
All right, lead us there, big guy.
All right, guys. So the first thing I want to say is when I start talking through these stages and I tell you what you need to do in each stage, is that every single stage builds on each other. So if we get to stage 3 here, where we're talking about how you're doing 30 plus transactions a year on your own, it's because you're continuing to do the things that were in stages 1 or 2. So I'm going to outline things. I would love for you guys to write things down. I also will send you this blueprint if y'all want to drop your emails in here, and Erik and Robby can hook me up with those, and then I'll send you guys this blueprint too. But the big thing I want to say is that each thing is going to compound on each other. Okay. So if you're in this today and over the last 12 months in 2022, you had a rough year, and you're from 0 to 15 transactions, and that's all you did in the last 12 months, this is the easiest stage to double your transaction in. This is the you get what you put in stage. This is usually predicated around effort and focus. So if you're in that 0 to 15 transactions in the last 12 month stage, I have really easy things that we can do. Okay. The first thing, and this goes for every single stage, no matter who is listening, whether you've sold 500 homes this year or you've sold 0 homes this year, is that I believe that you have to be focused on attraction-based business right now. Okay. In a market where there's less sales, it's not all about just doubling down on effort. It's also about doubling down on attraction in my mind. The best kind of clients that we can have are the ones that call us, right? They just call us and they say, we're in the market. For those of you that are in this 0 to 15 stage, you're probably in this 0 to 15 stage because you haven't been bringing in attraction-based business, or as Erik, Robby, and I call it, reputation-based business. It's the 4th leg of the sources of business stool, right? Your reputation business or your attraction-based business, you guys have to go out right now and you have to go get reviews. You have to get Google reviews. You have to go out and get Zillow reviews, and you have to be ever diligent about it, just like you would if you picked up the phone and prospect that day. Okay. So go out, talk to any lead that you've ever talked to and say, hey, if you've enjoyed the service I provided to you, a 5-star review means the world to my business. Could you help me out with that? Anybody you showed a home to, anybody that you closed a deal with, you have to start building that reputation-based business now. You have to start building that attraction-based business. You also are going to attract people through social media, okay? And again, as we go up in these tiers so that you can double your transaction, this goes for everybody. You're just going to have to find somebody to help you with it. Okay. So when we're talking about social media and attraction-based businesses, I mean that people need to know that you're a real estate broker, and people also need to know that you are the real estate broker. And the way that you do that, in my mind, is not posting pictures of you at a closing. It is not posting pictures with your pumpkin spice latte getting ready to go show a house. It is not those things, okay? What it is telling stories of the things that you accomplished with those people. For example, if you helped a first-time home buyer, or you helped a buyer out of a rough situation and they found their dream home and the apartment that they were in sucked, any of those kind of things, tell those stories about how their life was changed and you had the small opportunity to help them and serve them. But make it about them. Share market stats, be the news.
How often, PK?
With something like that, I would say no more than once in a week. Okay. Tell a story of how you changed somebody's life. You had the opportunity to change somebody's life in real estate. And I would do that once a week. I would also add once to twice a week opportunistic information about the real estate market. Okay. Talk about what's happening in the market and where people can win. Talk about how people can take advantage of the higher interest rates right now. Talk about how sellers have appreciated in our market 65% over the last 5 years. Talk about opportunistic things, opportunistic news in the market, be that positive. And I would say do that a couple times a week. And the last thing I would say in social media is do something about yourself or do something positive or fun. Okay. People need, and they want to know, like, and trust you. They want to work with you and they want to understand who you are. So if you're,
PK, I heard a speaker at a conference a couple of months ago talk about how if you watch a 30-minute sitcom, do you know how much of that is actual storytelling and how much of that is commercials? Because it's 22 minutes of storytelling and 8 minutes of commercials. And he said that that's what we should be focusing our social media on as well, is we're to tell our own personal stories and highlights where we're not the hero, somebody else is the hero. And we're telling those stories and we're highlighting our kids and things that make us laugh. That's 22 of the 30 minutes, right? That's 70-ish% of what you should do. The other 30% is when you can, here's the commercial you don't want to give us. Here's my open house. Here's my new listing. Nobody cares about any of that. You don't believe me? Go check your Facebook and see how many people that aren't in the industry actually care about that. Exactly. And so what you're talking about is really gold here.
It's also easier for a majority of us to do that, right? So it's easier for us to talk about someone else. Mm-hmm. It's easier for us to tell a story of someone else than to trying to create a story that we find attractive about ourselves. So we have to continue focusing in that with social media. Okay. So that's your blueprint. And that blueprint goes from the person who sold 0 to 15 to the person that sold 500, except you're probably going to have somebody helping you with that along the way. Right. So we have to build that attraction-based business. Social media, reviews, and then you have to have a great website. You have to have something that plugs people back into you, that those types of things lead them to. Okay, so very basic stuff. I'm talking about this, especially with our people that have had a rough year in 2022 and they want to double it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
PK, let me pause here. Somebody was bold enough to ask a question saying that they leaned into putting all of this out there, of doing a lot of attraction pieces, but they weren't able to monetize it. How do you get them to monetize it, and how do you get them to do the hard things, right? Because for some people, it feels pretty natural on social media, but they're not getting the results that they want. So my response on that is you can't go to harvest too quickly on that. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing, is they're trying to put something out there in which they expect it to bear fruit in the next few months, and oftentimes it doesn't. But how do you monetize what you just talked about?
I think based on this, and I just pulled up that question, I think it's a great question. I think in that specific scenario, there's not a funnel at the end in which you've provided something of value to them in exchange for their information. Okay. For example, if you're going all in on marketing videos or market videos and you have this funnel that gets them to your website, which sounds like your question specifically, in your website, you have to have something to provide to them. Hey, here's the 5 steps of buying your first home. Here's the 5 steps to make your home look attractive, and download this PDF. And in exchange for downloading the PDF, I get your information. And then there's your lead. There's your opportunity to call this person and say, hey, thanks for engaging in my content. I really appreciate it. It means the world to my business. What's your real estate situation? So it's probably just that one extra piece of actually capturing something from them at the end, but you have to give them something of value. That'd be my answer to that question.
Yeah, thanks for that.
So if you're in this stage, it's going all in on attraction-based business. I believe in that for every single stage right now. Secondly, you got to go after low-hanging fruit. Okay. If you guys go to meetpk.co, I've got a video on there about how to increase your low-hanging fruit sales. It's really, really, really important right now. But in 2023, we're going to have a lot more low-hanging fruit than we ever have in the last 3 to 4 years. There's going to be more expired listings on the market. There's going to be more for sale by owner listings on the market than we've had in the last 3 years. Guys, I believe in January, it's all going to come flood. There's listing contracts that aren't written for months at a time. There's listing contracts that are written for the end of the year. And we have a huge opportunity in 2023 to get on that and get on low-hanging fruit, okay? If you're talking to a for sale by owner, talk to them about how you totally understand on why they're in the market and how you're going to help them through their situation and be a valuable resource to them. Again, check out that video, and it's a ton of content for you on how to convert low-hanging fruit, but we have to go after low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, Robby, I want you to spin on this and riff on this for a little bit, because you've always pushed back on the ineffectiveness of cold calling and door knocking and circle prospecting. And now I think people were gasping saying, where do I find business from? And now business is landing on our laps with expireds and FSBOs, is it not?
Yeah, I call this picking up other people's leftovers. And as PK kind of said, with the difficulty in the market, what we're seeing is, very frankly, the last 2 years, nobody's had to have difficult conversations with their sellers. It just hasn't been a thing. So even if you've been in the game prior to, we'll call it May of 2020, and you had those skills, you haven't used them for 2 years. So you're super rusty. If you're new to the industry, which we saw a flood of new agents come in because selling real estate was sexy and fun, nobody's had to have these difficult conversations with sellers. Conversations where we're discussing what's the game plan if the home isn't selling, what are we going to do, price reductions. And what we need to realize is that just simply means that we're going to see a ton of leftovers where people don't have the skills to win. And I've never really liked circle prospecting and other things because the numbers just haven't made sense. I'm going to give a really good example. I have a coaching client named Josh Huglin in Rochester, Minnesota, one of the most, like, let's call it generic American towns, right? Not a huge city. How many people are in Rochester? Probably 100,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's fairly close to Minneapolis, so it's like a distant suburb, but yeah.
So just a normal city. Anyways, every single person, including Josh, I've pushed to go chase expireds. And of course, we don't do it because we're like, well, what do we do? What do we say? They're always pissed off. They're angry about us calling. And you're right. And I can give you just 3 takeaways on how you can win with those in a second. But every time people have taken the heed to go chase expireds, canceled, literally day one, every single time, they set at least one appointment. It's happened every single time. And it's going to intensify. If anything, my favorite story about when I got into the game was Erik was like, all right, the first leads you're going to chase are old expireds. That's the only stuff Erik told me to go chase. So I literally went through hand jammed and I created a list of 450 expireds. And that's all I chased. And I learned some very, very simple things calling expired, just to give you guys some tips. Number one is get on their side. When they complain about another agent or other agents, they're like, you know, they bother me too. They frustrate me too. The moment you do that, you're on their side. Number two is turn it into a counseling session. Egg them on to tell you why they're frustrated. Don't try to move on. Don't try to sell them. Let them vent. Let them lean into it. And what happens is they'll tell you everything that pisses them off. And what we need to realize is really what they're telling you is everything they want. And then you need to ask one simple question. that turns an expired conversation into a win after you let them vent. And those questions in the beginning would be like, well, what went wrong? What was frustrating about it? Things like that. And the question that helps you win over an expired is very simple. It's, what would you do differently now that you've gone through all of this? And almost always they'll answer, well, I'd pick a different agent. Cool. What do you want in that agent? How do you want that agent to treat you? And y'all, from there, it's easy. Like, it's honestly easy money. Go get people's leftovers, because last 2 years we haven't had any, and you can go get it now. So There we go. I ripped on it for a minute or two.
Awesome. PK, back to you. You talked about we're still in the 0 to 15 transactions, and you're talking about increasing low-hanging fruit. What are some other things that we need to be doing at that time?
Yeah, I think really, guys, just expanding on what Robby had said on that, in these conversations, whether it's via text or phone call with expireds or for sale by owners, we have to also understand that over the last 3 to 5 years, we know that a lot of agents have jumped into our market, right? Because it was good. And we have to understand that it's very possible, unfortunately, that these clients hired an agent that wasn't knowledgeable. It's like the equivalent of them walking into an emergency room, bleeding out, they just shattered their arm, and the emergency room doctor's like, oh, I love your dog. I love your car. Like that was the extent of the relationships that were being built and getting listing contracts over the last 2 years. Okay. And so y'all, if you're confident enough in your abilities and you know things about the real estate market, once you develop that relationship with Robby, you out relationship, like Robby had said, and you out relationship everybody else, your knowledge is going to be so much greater than what they've likely experienced. Okay. So don't be afraid to get out there, because they've probably experienced, unfortunately, low levels of service. So that's what I have on low-hanging fruit prospecting. It's very important that if you have leads, so if you're in this stage 0 to 15 transactions, which I want to get to all the rest of them, but and remember, they all combine and they compound against each other. If you have leads, it's time to not only double down in your efforts with them, but double down in intention. One of the best things that we have done as a team here over the last several weeks is, instead of just checking in with all of our leads, we're actually looking at what listings that they're looking at or have looked at, and we're sending them a link of that listing. And if it's pending, we'd say, hey, what made you pass on this one? What are you looking for? And if it's active, say, hey, we've noticed you've looked at this one a lot. What's making you not pursue this one? What are some things that we can be looking at for you? And guys, just like taking that extra level of intention, instead of saying, hey, what's your real estate situation today? Has anything changed? Just checking in with you. It's taking one more minute to give them something of value and try to pull something back, a piece of information from them. So if you have leads, you need to go back and double your intention, and not only just your efforts, but your intention. Okay. You have to treat every single opportunity like it is the opportunity right now. I think some of us have handpicked opportunities back in 2020 and 2021, and every single opportunity is the opportunity. Guys, I think if there's one thing I would say about my trajectory in the real estate sales business, is that from day one, I've treated every opportunity like it is the opportunity, which creates more transactions and more past client pool than trying to handpick certain ones based on price point or availability or attitude. Okay, we have to treat every opportunity like it's the opportunity right now. And if you're in this stage, this is the last thing I'm going to say. If you're in that 0 to 15 transaction stage and you're wanting to take it to 1 or 30 deals in 2023, last thing I want to say is, if you're a new agent, take all the tools that we're teaching you today and implement them and do them. If you've been in this stage for several years, your way is not working, and it's time to change something.
Yeah, we've been quick to say to our team, did you reach your goals this year? And most people's answer is no. And my response is, well, then your way didn't work. And it's really clear to the person who had the courage to ask the question before, saying, I did all the things. All those things are in addition to and not in place of. I want to talk about the perfect schedule that I think a realtor should be following. Simple, not easy. The perfect schedule. And PK, this is to talk about and maybe lead into the realtor workouts of the day, or the RWADs as we call them for short. And so it looks like this. For us, it's 8:30 to 9:15 is role playing. This is practicing. If you don't practice, you're practicing on your clients. And that's so irresponsible to do. So role play is essential. The second piece of that is a minimum of 9:15 to 10:15, a minimum of 1 hour of lead generation. And people are stuck with lead generation. Your YouTube creation, your Instagram chatting, that's maybe a part of it, but the greatest thing that you can do, and in the book, we talk about what we have is called a connection spectrum, from least effective to most effective. And the most effective thing you can do is one-on-one and voice-to-voice conversations. And so if you're wondering, why am I not effective? It's because you're probably living in the inconsistent middle ground of like, I'm connecting with people on social media, but you're never bringing it to real life. And so 9:15 to 10:15, 1 hour of lead generation at minimum, and then a minimum of 30 minutes a day of lead follow-up. That's people who you've already connected with. These are people who are engaged in the process already, and you're making sure that you're teeing up the rest of your day for them. So PK, maybe you can give a little insight into what your workouts of the day look like.
Absolutely. So in our place, we start at 8:45 and we go to 9:30. In our workouts, we will role play, we will learn, or we'll take a biggest takeaway of what's working in our market today. Okay. At the end, the last 15 minutes, as my team, we all identify what our workouts are going to be. And it's very important. Erik, I don't know if you mentioned this, but if you did, I'm going to repeat it. We say who, what, and how many in our workouts. Mm-hmm. So who are we going to try and talk to today? Who are we going to lead generate to?
And you're not bouncing around from an open house lead to a friend from college to an internet lead. You're just focused in on one group. Yes.
Exactly. Who? I'm calling Google PPC leads today. I'm calling expires today. I'm doing pop buys only today. These kind of things. Who? And then what are we going to do? Or what are we going to say? We're going to call them with a certain focus, or we're going to text them with a certain focus. We're going to email them, whatever it is. And then we're going to say how many of those people are we going to go after? And every single day we identify those three things. And
we also add the why. Why are you contacting them?
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the purpose? That probably helps you, obviously, in your lead generation when they answer the phone. You have to know why you're reaching out. Absolutely.
And watch this fun little commercial here. If you are struggling with role play, Robby and I have created a game that allows you to role play and to practice these things. Open house scripts and different scenarios, different types of people that you'll work with. And so, Robby, I'd love for you to give us an insight as to like, what's your opener on an expired call and what should people be practicing here? Because practice makes perfect. Well, it at least helps you to get better. So practice makes progress.
Practice makes progress, 100%. So first off, Hatch, you should probably put the link to the role play game.
That'll come in the email afterwards to people.
Cool.
Yep.
So that's the first thing. Let's talk expired real quick. When I call them expired, the first thing I always ask is, hey, is this Erik? Or, hey, is this homeowner of 123 Main Street? And people are like, why do you do that? They could lie. And the reality is people could lie at any time. But I do it for one simple reason, y'all. It's because the way Erik answers tells me a lot about his energy and his demeanor and his disc profile. Whether he's very, very direct and sharp right away, I know I need to be a little more like a big gorilla and pound my chest, right? If he's more soft and quiet, I'm going to adjust myself based off of how he answers that simple thing right away. From there, with an expired lead, my opening question is really kind of a combination of statement and question. It's something like, hey, Erik, this is Robby with Hatch Realty. We have to identify ourselves. I always recommend it. I'm just reaching out because I saw that your home came off the market this morning. Don't ever say expired. Don't ever say your listing canceled. Nobody knows what the hell expired means. I saw that your house came off the market. We have to use layman terms. I saw that your house came off the market this morning. And I just wanted to reach out, and I would say my question would be one of two things. You choose which one you like best. Wanted to see, Erik, are you still hoping to sell your home sometime soon? Or two, what happened? What went wrong? I saw that your home came off the market this morning, so it looks like it didn't sell, Erik. I'd love to hear, what happened? What went wrong? either way, I'm going down the pathway of getting them to open up about their experience. So that's with expireds. With leads that have come to your website, my opening thing is the same. Hey, is this Erik? When they answer, it's again to gauge where they at on that disc and their energy. And I'm going to say, hey, Erik, I saw that you were checking out some homes on one of our websites. Here's a no-go word when it comes to leads: registered. Never say that word. Nobody likes registering. It's the death word. Rather, the behavior. I saw that you were checking out some homes on one of our websites, which is very generic, right? Applies to every single person. And I just wanted to see if you're just kind of checking things out for fun, or to see if you plan on making a move sometime soon. Now, of course, what's happening right now, because people are nervous, they're afraid, and I'm some random, despicable, gross salesperson they don't like, is almost always they say, oh, I was just looking for fun. That's normal, y'all. I would say the same crap. It's just like when you go to a car dealership or go to a furniture store, when somebody walks up to you, you say, oh, we're just checking things out. Well, then the great salesperson, the pro, says, okay, cool. Well, tell me a little about that. What are you looking for? What's going on? Turn their answer into an open-ended question. Now, people are being really, really fearful and throwing fear-based objections at you, like the market's going to crash, things like that. Here's what you simply do is essentially ignore it. You acknowledge it, like, I got it, Erik. I could see that perspective. I appreciate you sharing it. But what had you interested in real estate to begin with? Always turn this conversation back to their motivation and what they're potentially thinking about doing. Now, the role play game, the whole point of that is to really engage in conversations with different types of leads, different disc personalities. The game that we had created was really, we created for our team in the beginning. And then, of course, we expanded it out. And it gives you situations. It gives you a role to play. And really great role play, it almost always has three people. You have somebody playing the role of the agent or ISA. You have somebody playing the role of the lead. And then you have somebody playing the role of the silent observer who's giving feedback to those two people about their role play performance. So I would 100% check it out.
I found this on the web.
Get out of here, Siri.
Oh,
That's
geez.
funny. She actually brought up the link for the role play game up there. That was creepy as hell.
Guys, I'm going to speak to this too, and this is what it looks like.
Ooh,
We do these in our workouts, okay? And they absolutely help kind of break the ice and what you need to be talking about and what you need to be role playing about. And they give role details on who the prospective client is on the phone and what their attitude is going to be like. And guys, it gets people role playing. It helps you role play is a very important aspect of your daily workouts. And we're talking about workouts. That was going to be my summary of today, is that if you want to double your production, it's consistency.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just consistency. It's doing it day in and day out. And you have to, if you want to chop down a tree, you can't do it with a dull axe. And you do it with a sharpened axe that we get in role playing and practicing every day.
Yeah. I would summarize it like this. It's, if you're not where you're at and you're not producing like you want, you either lack the skills, therefore you need to be leaning more into role play and practicing, getting better, studying, role playing, practicing. Or number two, it's very simple. You're not putting the right activities in. So if you're putting the activities in and you're not getting the results you want, and I'm not talking like, oh, I've been doing it for a week, where are my results? I'm talking you're 6 months in and you're not seeing the results. You need to start looking at your game film. Y'all want to wake up to how good you are at something? Go watch your game film, y'all. Literally listen to your conversations, recordings of your conversations, and you'll recognize, oh my goodness, I am not that great.
PK, we have less than 20 minutes left. I know you still have a couple other things to get into. Robby and I are hogging all the airwaves here. I want you to talk about 15 to 30 transactions if people are trying to double in that bucket.
Absolutely. So if you've been at 15 to 30 transactions the last 12 months and you want to take it to 30 to 60, I believe it's time to start investing in yourself if you haven't done so. I also think it's time to start doubling down, if you haven't already, in your past client and your sphere of influence attraction. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is investing in yourself. Here's what I mean by that, is trying to create opportunities that you didn't have before. And most likely you do that through either other people or you do that through investing in money. Okay, you have to put some money into buying leads or buying opportunities. Now, I'm being very very cautious here with this, okay? Just because you buy leads, you start spending money on Google PPC leads or website, or let's say you get your first home search website because you want to start bringing leads through that, and you pay for Google search spend, okay? Or you buy Zillow leads, or you start engaging in Realtor or OpCity leads, or any of these types of leads, bold leads, driven leads, any of that stuff out there, right? I want to be very careful. If you haven't done this yet, your expectations need to be set clearly. These leads that you invest in, basically, no matter where they come from in our market today, are going to take at least 8 months, most likely, to turn into anything. Okay. And that is if you're converting them at a very high level. And so if you're in the stage between 15 to 30 transactions, you're ready to take it from 30 to 60, it's time for you to invest in these leads with the expectation you're going to have to treat these leads like every single one of them is a baby that you've born. And you need to make sure that it's cultivated, it's nourished, and it's being followed up on appropriately.
So we always talk about there being 4 different types of leads. There's PCSOI, that's past client sphere of influence. There is reputation business, which is earned. It's your social media, that sort. But the other 2 are purchased, right? One is low hanging fruit, which is a very expensive lead source. That's Zillow and Realtor.com and HomeLight and Dave Ramsey, all those things. And the other are nurture leads. These are taking an inordinate amount of time, but in those nurture leads, your cost per lead is just a very tiny fraction of. And so I'll challenge you that if you have just 1 leg or 2 legs of the stool, you can get by with PCSOI and reputation business as the way in which to grow everything. But if you are starting to purchase business, make sure that that is not the majority of your business. Otherwise, you are setting yourself up to have a rented business and not an owned business, and they can change the rent on you at any time.
To expand on what Erik is saying, if I'm telling you all to invest now in yourself and invest to try to create more business, if the primary source of your business over the last 12 months, if 70% of it has been past clients or sphere of influence, you should allocate a budget for lead spend, and 70% of your budget should go back to them. Okay. If a majority of your business comes from sphere, if it comes from your past clients, if it comes from referrals, spend your money on that. Okay, like Erik said, if you're spending majority of your money on something that provides the least amount of your income, that stool's going to fall over. And so in this stage, I'm talking about investing in yourself. I also mean spending money on your sphere. That comes in the form of client events. That comes in the form of gifts to your clients. That comes in the forms of many different things that you can do for your clients over the course of the year. Also marketing to your clients. Creating a touch campaign where you can send something to every one of your clients on their birthday, on their home anniversary, on Valentine's Day, those types of things, using money and investing in your business on the things that are working.
Let me give you all a cheat code here. Let's say Robby is a past client of mine and I want to send him a house anniversary thing. I can promise you can go to a local business. We went to a business called Nothing Bundt Cakes. And you can knock on the door and say, hey, are you interested if I bring you more business? They're, of course, going to say yes. And then you say, listen, will you be willing to collect all of the gift certificates that we create? And at the end of the month, just bill me for that, but give me a discount and I'll bring you a bunch more business. And they were like, yeah, totally. And so what happens is I send Robby in the month of December, his house anniversary month, I send Robby a free gift certificate for a Nothing Bundt Cake, a $12 gift certificate or something like that, but it's redeemable only in the month of December. So it creates urgency for Robby to go and to cash that in. But I promise you, look at how many gift cards are sitting in your junk drawer or in your purse or in your car or in your wallet that you've never used. And we're sending out, no joke, we're sending out like a couple thousand of these free Nothing Bundt Cakes, and we're only cashing in a couple dozen a month. And so think of all that money that you're spending on gifts that people aren't actually using. You can work smarter, not harder, and negotiate those things and certainly pay for it every time somebody uses it, but don't send out something assuming that somebody's going to go and use it. Like you can reinvest that 70% that PK was talking about into your clients. And I promise you that 70% on the front line is actually only going to be 20% for the people that actually cash it in.
With a much bigger impact. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's very important in this stage that you continue doing everything that I mentioned in the first stage. And it's also very, very important that you're in a model, that you're currently working in a model that makes sense for you to invest in yourself. Okay. So make sure that you're in a place, whether it's your current team or brokerage, that your compensation model makes sense, that you can invest in yourself. Very important here.
Yeah, let's talk 30 to 60 transactions quick. Somebody's trying to go from 30 to 60, or they're trying to go from 60 to 120, or anywhere in between.
You have to do everything that I just mentioned, and it's time for you to seek some help. This is what I call kind of like the plateau stage. So if you're from 30 to 60 transactions and you're trying to get to 60 to 120, that's quick math for me, you are going to start to plateau without help. Okay, you absolutely have to do that. My example was I was getting to the point where I was about 50 transactions and I couldn't get past that. The first hire that I had made, because this was not a resource provided to me at the time, was a transaction coordinator. When I hired a transaction coordinator and she took the paperwork off of my plate, I quickly took my business from 50 deals to about 87 deals in a year. Okay? I almost doubled that business.
But that's reinvesting that time, not sitting back golfing. I've seen you golf and you have not golfed much.
Yes.
Oh man.
It is absolutely reinvesting that time into finding more business, doing the thing that you absolutely should. If you already have transaction coordination based on where you're at or in your brokerage, then I believe the next hire is a showing partner, our partner. If you're in this stage and you are in a model where you can put investment money back in yourself, it's time for you to bring a partner into work with you. A partner does three things for you. Okay, a partner lead generates after you teach them and watch them how to lead generate. A partner lead generates for you and your team. A partner leverages you by showing homes for you, running signs for you, doing the things that aren't dollar productive for you to do. And a partner learns. A partner should always be learning to be like you. They should learn from you. They should shadow you. You should show them. You should watch them, and then you should let them go and do that work.
Let's pause for a quick moment, because people hear this. They hear bring on a transaction coordinator or bring in a partner, and in its purest form, a partner is a salary-based position. And so many people will never take that leap, PK, because they're afraid, especially in today's market, of spending on a salary. What would you say to those people?
I can answer that with a story. Okay. In the traditional models, guys, usually when people get here, they start thinking buyer's agent, right? So they get to this 30, 60 transaction stage and they say, hey, I'm just going to have somebody who's my friend, who's an agent. And when I get like really overwhelmed, I'm going to send them this deal and they'll take 50% of it. I'll keep 50% of it and we'll all be happy. Okay. In that model, if there's a $10,000 commission, and it's not about the money, guys, I'll go into it here in a second. In that model, it's not just about the money. There's a $10,000 commission. You have now given up $5,000 of your commission to a buyer's agent of a deal that should have been yours, correct? Well, some of you might rebuttal me and say, oh, well, I got some time back or I didn't have to deal with it, right? Guys, there's lagging problems with that. And I experienced it, okay? What happens when that client that you handed off and said, see you later, goes to buy a house in 3 to 5 to 7 years? They are going to call that agent because you were too busy for them and you didn't want to manage the relationship. And then, oh, by the way, they probably bought up, right? So now their commission's $12,000. Where's that commission go? That $12,000 now goes to that agent. In our marketplace,
that agent's probably not on my team in 7 years.
Exactly.
Right?
So in our marketplace, they may not even be with you, right?
PK, you're telling my life story right now. I've lost literally millions of dollars in net profit by not doing this.
And it's happening to me too. And it's happened for me from several years ago, having a buyer's agent. And so guys, hear this. The salary piece, it's depending on your market, right? So let's break it down the other way. Let's say that you can pay a showing partner 30 to 40K a year, plus the opportunity to earn commissions. That $10,000 commission now belongs to you, and that showing partner helped you serve it. Okay. Let's say the showing partner lead generated that opportunity. Well, they can still make commissions on that once they've earned it. In our world, they have to bring in at least 9 deals to order commissions or to deserve commissions, the ability to do them, right? So let's say they brought that opportunity in. They can make their salary and make 15 to 30% of that commission, depending on where that lead source came from. And guys, we're talking about 7K staying with you and 3K going to a partner, plus their salary, plus their security, plus an amazing paid internship for them to be following a Rainmaker. It's a win-win for both.
Plus
And
your
you have
client now gets 2 people instead of 1 working for them.
Absolutely. More
Yeah.
responsive, a better experience, and a showing partner can help you grow. Guys, I mean, we're the example of that this year. Okay. And obviously everything in real estate lags. But when Robby and I first talked 2 years ago, I was right at like 99, 100 transactions a year. Okay. And then I grew up this thing. And like I just told you, now we're at 160 and some change. Okay. Partners absolutely help leverage you and help you do the best things. And you have to help them build a big life for themselves too. It's not a one-way street. You have to give them security, training, and balance, and the opportunity to grow.
Yeah, I want to add something to this, guys, because you brought up the most important thing that goes unnoticed, PK, which is building your team the old way doesn't just impact your short-term profitability, like you illustrated. It wrecks your long-term viability in this industry. You're literally handing over your most precious asset, which is your face and name, is no longer top of mind for these people. So that I love that you brought that up. I want to name one more thing though that I've noticed is when people are going and hiring a bunch of agents, they have almost no incentive to go and lead generate and create buyer business themselves. So what happens is we throttle ourselves. And I think that's where a lot of these people are that are on this webinar today, is if they're stuck in a place, it's almost always because you are self-sabotaging your lead generation, because you're like, I can't take on any more business. My wife will kill me. My husband will kill me. The kids will miss too much. I'm not willing to sacrifice this. And this is the brilliance and the beauty of this model. That's why I call it rescuing, is it simply allows you to maintain the headspace as you are the agent. And you have professionals underneath you that are your team, kind of like if you go to a hospital and you get surgery, your surgery is done by the doctor. And in your mind, you're working with Dr. X, right? Whatever their name is. But let's be real. There is 6 or 7 other people that are helping with that surgery, and you just don't know who they are. But they're representatives of that doctor. And in your mind, that was your doctor. Well, this is what happens in real estate is PK runs point on the relationship, and whoever runs point on the relationship portion of this game will always maintain the headspace. And people, although they have, they're primarily working with one of your showing partners, maybe it's Karen, or in our model, we also talk about empire builders / managing partners. Even if they're working with that person all the dang time, the person that they view themselves working with is never the managing partner or showing partner. It's always with Patrick. Patrick's my guy. And it's because Patrick's number one job is Patrick's maintaining the relationship with the client. That's what helps you in the long term maintain profitability. But we throttle ourselves. We slow ourselves down because we don't want to take on more business. We can't take on another listing. And that's what this model does, is it gives you the energy back to go and lead generate, which is the thing that separates the greatest people in this industry from those that flake out. It's, can you lead generate? It's not the level of your service. It's not at all. I wish it was, but there are some really crappy agents that somehow stick around year after year. And it's because they're out relationshiping you all. And it's because they're not throttling themselves. So I think that's the other piece of this that I want to make sure that we hit on is you can't not afford to go get this person because you are currently leaving opportunities on the table. Every single person can go chase expireds or cancels. Even you, PK, are you chasing expireds right now?
Would love to.
Yeah, we need to get that on your plate, don't we? Right? PK, the guy who's selling 160 homes. Dude, if you start chasing expireds, I guarantee you would sell another 20 to 40 free money homes next year. So we got to make sure we get that on PK's plate. That's the thing that we got to start doing, is we got to be thinking of is, where is the missed opportunity that I'm not chasing right now? And the point of this is get leverage so you have the time and energy to actually do it, and the capacity in your business to service it. The only way you're going to be able to do this is through leverage.
PK, give us your final thoughts. And folks, before you jump off, I got a couple freebies for you, so I don't want you to go anywhere.
My final thoughts should go back to where I started. There is immense opportunity in this market next year, guys. It comes down to consistency. It comes down to role playing and learning. It comes down to when you've hit that plateau, it's time to hire somebody to help you. And when you've hit that plateau and you've hired someone to help you, those people are doing the things that are the least dollar productive things for you. For example, for those of you who I told you to build attraction-based businesses early on, these people later can help you continue to build your attraction-based business. Okay, your partners can take showings off of you, all of these things. So be consistent, find leverage when appropriate, and believe that next year is your opportunity, because I do, and I can see it. I've lived this story, and I've been able to get to where we're at today by believing in this story and implementing it and leading people to help me.
And I'll illustrate this, because I've been coaching Patrick for 2 years now. And when I met Patrick, you were overwhelmed. You were leading 20-ish people. You were overwhelmed. You were stressed. And I think a lot of people get to that point where it's like, you're just like, is this even worth it? Is the questions we start asking ourselves. And Patrick, you bought your dream home this year. You moved this year. You are growing a business. You have side hustles. You opened up a restaurant. You have cash all over the place, right? You're doing a lot of different things. But most importantly, you are back at home with your family. And you didn't have that before. You didn't have that flexibility. You get to be the dad to your daughter when she desperately needed it. And that's the stuff that actually matters in all of this. This is giving you the leverage to be the person you want to be. So I'm proud of you, man. That's a piece I wanted today.
Appreciate your all's help.
Yeah, gang, you're going to be seeing a lot more of Patrick in our webinars and in our coaching ecosystem, as he is taking on some new clients, taking all these lessons he's learned and now gifting it back to other people. So stay tuned for that. We're going to send you a number of things. If you're watching live, you're going to get PK's notes. PK, I sent that to Jess so she can send that off. If you are interested in a free copy of the Perfect Real Estate Agent Blueprint, find me on Instagram, Real Erik Hatch. That's Erik with a K, Real Erik Hatch. DM me your email address and we will send you instructions on how to get a free copy of that book. For the remaining month of December here, we have our Hatch training bundle, over 190 videos, jam-packed with goodness, master classes of how to crush this real estate business, from scripts to training to onboarding to you name it. We got you covered in that. We are giving that away at over 70% off. So be sure to jump on that. We'll email those details out for you. We also are going to get you a discounted link to the role-playing game that Patrick shared with you. And then finally, if you have a CRM, man, you got to get that audited, because there's probably some massive holes, and Jackie on our team is prepared to do that. We will give you a free audit. So look at all this free stuff you're getting just for tuning in. So with that, on behalf of PK, my name is Erik Hatch. My partner is Robby T, and we will keep bringing info to you this and every week. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We'll catch you on the flippity flip.
Peace, y'all.